Silence is a weapon. Sharper than any insult, stronger than any argument, and more feared than any shout. People think power comes from talking, but the truth is colder. Real power comes from presence, from the mind that stays calm, from the person who doesn't rush to explain. Every word you hold back makes the next one more powerful. Most people hide behind noise. They talk because they're insecure. They fill the air because they fear the emptiness inside. But if you want real dominance, you must learn the opposite. Make silence your armor, your signal, your territory. When you enter a room with calm confidence, people feel it before you speak. When you choose not to answer, they feel the weight of your silence. When you listen longer than they expect, they reveal more than they meant to. This is the Machiavellian art of invisible control, the power to command respect without raising your voice or begging for attention. If you understand the power of silence, say, "My silence speaks power." Number 1. The silent edge. Silence is not weakness. It is the first test of discipline, the line that separates ordinary people from those who control themselves. When you master silence, you create a presence others cannot ignore, cannot read, and cannot control. When you stop reacting to everything around you, people are forced to react to you. And in that moment, power shifts in your direction. Your silence exposes others, their fears, their intentions, their insecurities. Noise reveals the foolish, but silence reveals the truth. When you hold back your words, the world moves toward you, trying to understand you, trying to guess your thoughts, feeling your presence without you doing anything. A man who speaks less is unpredictable, and unpredictability creates power because people fear what they cannot read and respect what they cannot shake. If you understand this, say, "My silence builds my throne." Number 2. Presence without noise. Powerful presence is not created by shouting. It is created by higher standards, sharper awareness, and controlled emotions, until your calm energy becomes a message by itself. When you walk into a room with steady confidence, you stand apart from those who talk too much, move too fast, or try too hard to be noticed. Presence grows in the moments when you simply observe. When you let others show their habits and weaknesses while you keep your intentions hidden behind a calm and unreadable expression. This creates an aura that makes people think twice before approaching you or questioning you. Approaching you becomes difficult, and underestimating you becomes even harder. In silence, you gather information others spill without thinking. In stillness, you read the hidden tension written in their body language. Through restraint, you discover who is truly confident, who is insecure, and who is only pretending. Your presence becomes a weapon because it cannot be shaken, manipulated, or dragged into the emotional storms that control ordinary minds. People trust noise because it distracts them, but they fear silence because it forces them to face reality. And when your presence carries that silent reality, you earn respect without asking, performing, or lowering yourself for anyone. A man with real presence does not chase attention. He pulls it. He bends it. He owns it simply by standing with intention, discipline, and quiet confidence. The more you root yourself in calm observation, the more unpredictable and powerful you become. Because people cannot attack what they cannot read, cannot manipulate what they cannot reach, and cannot dominate what refuses to play emotional games. This is the Machiavellian truth. Presence is a silent throne, and only those who master themselves can sit on it without trembling. If you understand this level of silent power, say, "My presence speaks louder." Number 3. The calm that controls rooms. Real dominance begins the moment you stop rushing to fill silence and start letting silence work for you. When you stay calm while others rush to look important or intelligent, you show who truly holds the psychological high ground. This calm is not weakness. It is a deliberate choice, a quiet declaration that you will not be dragged into the chaos, noise, or emotional drama that insecure minds depend on. When you stand still while others fidget, when you speak slowly while others ramble, when your gaze stays steady while theirs avoids yours, you create an atmosphere that forces people to adjust themselves around you. They become more careful, more aware, more controlled in your presence. Calmness is not the absence of emotion. It is mastery over it. The ability to feel everything yet reveal nothing. And that terrifies people because it means they cannot predict you, provoke you, or pull you into their emotional storm. Your calm becomes a mirror that shows them their own anxiety, making them feel the weight of their lack of control. And when someone feels weaker in emotional control, they naturally place you above them. This is the secret leaders have used for centuries. When you control your inner world, you influence the outer one. People become cautious, respectful, and measured because they sense you operate on a different level than they do. The most powerful part? Your calm makes others work harder to earn your reactions, your attention, your acknowledgement, shifting the power entirely toward you without a loud word. Calmness becomes your shield against manipulation and your sword against disrespect, because no one can break a man who refuses to be ruled by emotion. This is how kings, warriors, strategists, and silent thinkers gained respect, not through noise, but through unshakable presence that exposes others' instability. If you feel the strength in mastering this level of calm, say, "My calm commands respect." Number 4, the power of unreadable silence. There is a unique power that belongs only to the man who cannot be easily read, the man who observes more than he speaks, reacts slower than he judges, and reveals nothing until the timing is perfect. This unreadable silence becomes one of the strongest forms of intimidation because people fear what they cannot understand, decode, or predict. When your face stays calm while everything around you falls apart. When your breathing stays steady while others panic. When your body language stays grounded while theirs exposes insecurity, you shift the psychological advantage entirely in your favor. People always try to read others to gain control, anticipate moves, or feel superior. But when they look at you and find no entry point, no fear, no weakness, no emotional reaction, they start questioning themselves instead. And that inner doubt is where your silence gains its power. Your silence enters their mind. They start wondering what you're thinking, what you know, and what you might do next. In that uncertainty, their own confidence begins to break while yours becomes stronger. Silence makes people project their fears onto you. They start imagining that you are more confident, more intelligent, more dangerous, or more aware than you really are. Your quietness forces them to fill the empty spaces with their own insecurities. And when someone feels insecure around you, respect naturally follows, because no one disrespects what intimidates them. Your unreadable nature becomes psychological armor. It protects you from manipulation, gossip, emotional traps, and power games. Manipulators rely on reading reactions, but when you give them none, they have no direction. They cannot handle a man who stays calm like a still lake, peaceful on the surface, deep underneath, impossible to measure. Even in conflict, your silence creates pressure. People become uncomfortable when they can't get a reaction, an explanation, or an emotional outburst from you. That discomfort pushes them to reveal their real motives faster, exposing their weaknesses before you even speak. The one who talks first loses the advantage. The one who talks without thinking loses respect. But the one who holds silence holds control. This is why unreadable silence is a Machiavellian weapon. It lets you shape how people see you without saying a word, influence situations without forcing anything, and earn respect without asking for it. When you learn this silent psychology, you stop chasing power. Power naturally begins to move around you. If you understand the strength in being unreadable, say, "My silence is my strategy." Number 5. The art of silent dominance. Silent dominance does not mean you avoid the world. It means you enter every situation with calm intention, so people feel your presence before they hear your voice. True power is never loud or desperate. It is controlled, thoughtful, and built on deep self-mastery, something most people never reach. When you walk into a room with stillness instead of performance, when your eyes observe with intention instead of insecurity, when your body stays grounded instead of restless for attention, you send a silent message of inner authority that immediately shifts the energy around you. People sense when a man controls himself, and they automatically adjust their behavior when he is present. They speak more carefully, choose their words wisely, and judge themselves before judging him. Silent dominance is based on one rule. The less you reveal, the more power you hold. Information is leverage. Restraint is control. Every time you choose not to overshare, not to react emotionally, not to explain yourself without reason, you build a psychological distance that others cannot cross. In that distance, your influence grows. The more they assume about you, the more respect they attach to you. You become the element they cannot predict, the unknown factor, the unpredictable presence. And unpredictability is one of the greatest advantages a man can have in a world full of loud, easily readable minds. Silence lets you study the environment without exposing your plans. It gives you clarity to see who is honest, who is scared, who is lying, and who is trying to judge you. You understand people's motivations while keeping your own hidden. It gives you the discipline to respond with accuracy rather than impulse. In silence, you are not passive, you are calculating. You collect information that others don't even know they are revealing. You notice the insecurity behind jokes, the neediness behind arrogance, the fear behind aggression, and the intention behind words. And when you finally choose to speak, your words carry 10 times the impact because they are chosen with purpose, not thrown carelessly. Silent dominance also shields you from emotional manipulation. Manipulators survive on quick reactions, on emotional cracks, on visible weakness. But when your silence denies them access, no reaction, no emotional display, no opening, their influence collapses. Their power disappears. They cannot control what they cannot read. They cannot dominate what remains unshaken. And no one can manipulate a man who carries himself with such controlled calm that his very presence becomes a strategy. Silent dominance is the mark of someone who has mastered himself and the atmosphere he enters, not through force, but through an unspoken authority that naturally commands respect. If you connect with this cold, controlled power, say, "Silence makes me powerful." Number 6. The strategy of speaking. Last. There is a rare strength in the man who refuses to be rushed, pressured, or trapped into speaking before he is ready. This strength becomes one of the most powerful psychological tools in the world of influence. The one who speaks last, after everyone else has revealed their fears, their motives, their insecurities, their exaggerations, their lies, and their need for validation, holds every advantage without raising his voice or losing his calm. When you choose to speak last, you take the role of the observer, not the performer, the strategist, not the victim, the quiet judge, not the impatient participant trying to be noticed. Speaking last is not about winning arguments. It is about controlling information. It is about watching how people expose themselves through their impatience and saving your energy for the exact moment when your words will have maximum impact. Most people talk too fast because silence scares them. They fear being alone with their thoughts, so they escape it by filling the air with noise. But when you sit in silence long enough, you begin to see everything they try to hide. Impatience shows weakness. Over-explaining shows insecurity. Nervous talking shows lack of self-control. And the man who waits calm, still, unreadable, forces everyone else to reveal who they really are before he says a single word. This is why Machiavellian minds never respond first. They know that the first reaction is always emotional, and emotion is ammunition for the intelligent. By speaking last, you become the one who analyzes instead of reacts, who listens instead of leaking information, who measures every detail instead of drowning in impulsive noise. And in every social moment, negotiation, argument, debate, tension, or conversation, the one who sees the most always holds the most power. Speaking last gives you that vision. It also makes others overthink your silence. They begin trying to guess your reaction, and in doing so, they lose balance. They repeat themselves. They reveal too much. They try to justify their position even though you never questioned them. Their tone changes as your silence makes them doubt themselves. This confusion inside them is where your dominance begins. The man who speaks last doesn't need to shout. His silence has already taken control of the room. People subconsciously look to him for confirmation, validation, or correction, because the silence of a calm man creates psychological space that weaker minds rush to fill. And the more they speak, the more you learn about them, their motives, their logical gaps, their shaky confidence, their emotional triggers, and the pressure points that shape their behavior. Speaking last also protects your image. The one who waits hears every angle before forming his own. You don't speak from ignorance. You speak from understanding. You don't speak from ego. You speak from clarity. And clarity is one of the strongest forms of power in a world filled with people trapped in their own noise. Even in confrontation, speaking last is an advantage. When someone tries to provoke you, they expect instant reaction, emotional, defensive, explosive. But when you stay still and give them silence, they expose themselves instead. Their voice gets louder, their face changes, their frustration breaks through. And by the time you finally speak, the emotional battlefield already belongs to you. Your calm becomes contrast. Your voice becomes impact. Your presence becomes dominance. This is why kings, generals, negotiators, and master strategists have used this principle for centuries. The last voice is the one remembered. The last voice is the one linked to authority. The last voice is the one that sets the direction. And because you took the time to observe, everything before you speak gives your words more force. When you wait, you speak with more clarity than others, and your message becomes stronger and more influential. Speaking last also protects you because manipulators depend on quick reactions and emotional responses. They want you to speak first so they can twist your words, attack your weak points, or push you into emotional traps. But when you stay silent, their plans fail. They cannot twist silence. They cannot control calmness. And they cannot provoke a man who chooses his moment instead of reacting on impulse. In your silence, they lose power and you gain control. Even in personal relationships, speaking last changes the whole dynamic. When people expect fast explanations, fast emotions, or fast apologies, your silence forces a pause. That pause makes them look at themselves instead of you. That moment becomes your advantage. That moment becomes your strength. And that moment lifts you above the emotional chaos that consumes weaker minds. Speaking last is not about winning through louder words. It is about winning before you even speak. It is about letting others exhaust themselves while you keep your energy. It is about letting them show the whole battlefield while you stay unseen. And when you finally do speak, calm, clear, and controlled, your voice carries weight not because of volume, but because of timing. This is the Machiavellian truth. The one who speaks last holds the most power. If you understand this level of cold psychological control, comment, "I speak with purpose." Number 7. The mystery that forces respect. Mystery is one of the strongest forms of psychological power. A man who masters it earns a level of respect others cannot copy. When people cannot fully understand you, cannot predict your actions, and cannot read your emotions, they naturally approach you with caution, curiosity, and quiet respect. Mystery is not created by pretending. It is created by not letting the world access your inner thoughts, your private life, and your emotional core. In a time where everyone talks too much, shares too much, and reacts too fast, the man who holds back becomes rare and unforgettable. Most people expose their fears, desires, dreams, pain, and motivations too quickly. In doing so, they hand over the very power that could have protected them. But the mysterious man knows that information is currency. The less he gives, the more powerful he becomes. His boundaries are intentional. His silence is strategic. Everything he shares is controlled and precise. Because he does not collapse into emotional openness, people approach him carefully and respectfully. Mystery creates distance, and distance creates authority. People fear what they cannot fully read, and that fear turns into respect. When they cannot predict your emotions, they watch their words. When they cannot guess your intentions, they act more carefully. When they cannot label you easily, they begin to place you higher in their mind. This mental elevation is one of the strongest positions you can have. The pedestal people build for you without you asking. The mysterious man does not rush to correct misunderstandings. He lets people guess, think, and create their own ideas about him. Their assumptions give him power because they react to a version of him created in their own mind. Mystery also protects you. Manipulators and insecure people rely on information. They need your weaknesses, fears, and triggers. But when you reveal nothing, your silence becomes a wall. They cannot grab anything. They cannot break anything. They cannot control a man whose emotions stay hidden. They step back, get confused, or expose their own weaknesses. This makes mystery a silent but powerful shield. But mystery is not coldness. It is depth. A mysterious man feels deeply, thinks deeply, and observes deeply, but he does not show all of that to the world. He shows the surface while guarding the ocean underneath. People can feel that there is more inside him, and that feeling pulls them toward him. This pull becomes gravity, and gravity becomes influence. You do not chase attention when you are mysterious. Attention comes to you naturally. Presence. When you walk into a room with stillness instead of desperation, people notice. When your eyes observe instead of scan nervously, people feel it. When your energy remains controlled instead of chaotic, others adjust. Mystery amplifies your presence because people feel the weight of what is unspoken. They sense depth without needing to see proof. They sense power without needing loudness. They sense intelligence without needing explanation. And because so few people possess this quality, it stands out instantly. Finally, mystery elevates your relationships. Only those who earn your trust gain access to your deeper layers. And because entry is rare, it is valued. People treat what is scarce with care. They treat what is exclusive with respect. And when you give your depth selectively, you build stronger, more meaningful connections while filtering out those who are not worthy of your inner world. Mystery is not the absence of authenticity. It is the protection of it. Mystery also strengthens your decision because when you are not pressured to explain yourself constantly, you gain the freedom to think clearly, act slowly, and move with intention. You no longer rush choices to satisfy others. You no longer react impulsively just to be understood. You no longer reveal your strategies before they are executed. This internal freedom creates external power because people sense that you are not easily influenced by their opinions or expectations. You become the man who moves on his own timeline, guided by his own standards, fueled by his own vision. And this independence is magnetic. People trust the one who does not seek approval because he radiates a confidence rooted in self-governance. Mystery also makes your silence louder. When you speak rarely, your words land with more force. When you reveal selectively, your revelations carry more meaning. When you open up only to those who earn it, your vulnerability becomes strength instead of weakness. People listen more closely, pay more attention, and take your presence more seriously because they know you are not a man who wastes words or displays emotions carelessly. This creates influence that does not need to be announced, only felt. And above all, mystery builds unshakable self-respect. When you protect your inner world, you reinforce the belief that you are valuable, that your thoughts matter, that your emotions are not to be consumed casually by anyone. You stop giving pieces of yourself away. You stop allowing the world to shape your identity. You become whole, solid, centered. The mysterious man is not trying to be enigmatic. He simply refuses to be anything less than sovereign over himself. His silence is intentional. His boundaries are firm. His presence is heavy. And his power is undeniable. And this is why mystery remains the greatest strength a man can develop. Number 8. The silent mind that outthinks everyone. A silent mind is not an empty mind. It is a refined, disciplined inner world where every thought is examined before it is allowed to exist. Every emotion is filtered before it reaches the surface. And every reaction is slowed down enough to be shaped, controlled, and weaponized. Most people operate with loud minds, constant overthinking, emotional storms, impulsive thoughts, imagined fears, and endless inner noise that weakens them more than any external enemy ever could. But the man who trains his mind to become silent becomes untouchable. The kind that allows you to wait for the perfect moment instead of acting out of anxiety or impulse. This patience makes you unpredictable, and unpredictability is one of the strongest forms of psychological power. People cannot anticipate a man who is not emotionally driven and WW because silence inside the mind creates clarity, and clarity creates power. When your mind is silent, you notice everything others miss. The tension behind someone's smile, the insecurity hidden in their jokes, the desperation behind their arrogance, the motive behind their compliments, and the fear behind their anger. Your awareness expands because you are no longer trapped inside mental chaos. You are observing reality without distortion, and the one who observes accurately always outthinks the one who reacts emotionally. A silent mind cannot be manipulated because manipulation requires triggering emotional noise, fear, guilt, urgency, insecurity. Yet when your mind is still, nothing can be triggered. Emotional chaos cannot move you. Threats cannot shake you. Insults cannot touch you. You see the intent behind every move, the weakness behind every attack, the strategy behind every action. And because your mind is calm, you respond with precision instead of panic. Calm decision-making gives you an unfair advantage in conflicts, negotiations, relationships, and power struggles. Because a quiet mind always sees 3 steps ahead while others stumble over their own thoughts. In silence, you gain patience. Real cold patience. A man with a quiet mind cannot be shaken. This calmness becomes intimidating for people who depend on emotional chaos to control others. They realize they cannot provoke you, cannot confuse you, and cannot enter your thoughts. This instantly weakens them. A silent mind does not need approval from anyone because it is built on inner certainty. You do not need praise to feel strong or validation to feel secure. Your confidence comes from discipline, not from other people's compliments. And people notice this difference. They can clearly feel when a man's confidence is real, stable, and unbreakable. A silent mind also strengthens your social intelligence. When your thoughts are not loud, you stop reacting emotionally and start observing. You listen more. And through listening, you collect powerful information. You notice facial expressions, tone changes, body language, hidden tensions, contradictions, and the subtle signs of power between people. You begin to understand others better than they understand themselves. This turns you into a psychological strategist, someone who moves with intention, not impulse. Others talk too much, reveal too much, and react too quickly. But you choose your words carefully, reveal only what is needed, and respond with control. Your silence protects your power and exposes their weaknesses. People talk to escape their discomfort. You let silence uncover who they truly are. A silent mind also builds resilience. When challenges appear, you do not fall apart because your thoughts are steady. You think long-term instead of reacting to temporary emotions. You look for solutions instead of drowning in stress. You stay collected even when everything around you becomes chaotic. This level of inner control is rare, and anything rare becomes powerful. A silent mind is also creative in ways a noisy mind can never be. Creativity needs space, and most people don't have that space because their thoughts constantly collide. But your quiet mind produces ideas with clarity and purpose. Your intuition becomes sharper. Your vision grows stronger. Your thoughts work for you, not against you. And slowly you evolve into the kind of man who leads through mental discipline, not emotional instability. A silent mind transforms your presence too. When your inner world is steady, your outer presence becomes strong. People feel your calmness. They sense your awareness. They recognize your self-control. They naturally treat you with respect because silence radiates a type of power that words cannot match. In a world full of noise, the quiet man becomes noticeable, not because he tries, but because his energy is rare. Silence inside creates power outside. This mix of clarity, discipline, awareness, and restraint forms a strength others cannot compete with. And when you think better than everyone, you eventually rise above everyone. The silent mind is the mind that wins. If you understand the value of building a mind that nothing can shake, comment. My mind moves in silence. Number 9. The energy that speaks before you do. Some people have a rare force around them the moment they enter a room, an energy that arrives before their words. It shapes how others see them even before a conversation starts. This energy is not luck, not charm, and not coincidence. It comes from a man who built himself with discipline, silence, self-respect, and intentional presence. When you control your inner world, your outer energy becomes impossible to ignore. People sense confidence before they see it. They sense authority before they hear it. They sense power before you speak. This is why some men can walk into a room and instantly shift the mood. They raise awareness, strengthen the atmosphere, and command attention without a single word. Their energy itself broadcasts strength, focus, and quiet dominance. Your energy speaks through how you move, the steadiness of your eyes, the calmness in your breathing, the control in your steps, and the grounded posture you hold. It also speaks through what you don't do, your lack of rushing, lack of fidgeting, lack of begging for approval, lack of emotional reactions, and lack of forced presence. People read these signals without even realizing it, and those signals decide how they treat you. When your energy is solid, people become more cautious, more respectful, and more careful around you. A man with a quiet mind does not get shaken easily. This steady inner calm becomes intimidating for people who depend on emotional chaos to control others. They realize they cannot provoke you, cannot confuse you, and cannot enter your thoughts. This awareness weakens them quickly. A silent mind does not search for approval because it is built on self-belief. You no longer need praise to feel strong or validation to feel important. Your confidence grows from discipline, not from what others think. And people can feel this difference. They can instantly tell when a man's confidence is real and unbreakable. A silent mind also makes you smarter in social situations. When your thoughts are not loud or chaotic, you stop reacting emotionally and start observing quietly. You listen more, and by listening, you gain deeper information. You notice facial expressions, tone changes, body language, hidden tension, contradictions, and the unspoken signs of power. You begin to understand people better than they understand themselves. This turns you into a psychological strategist, someone who moves with precision instead of impulse. Others talk too fast, reveal too much, and react without thinking. But you speak with intention, reveal only what matters, and respond with control. Your silence protects your power and exposes their weaknesses. People talk to escape their discomfort. You use silence to reveal them completely. A silent mind also builds strength. When problems appear, you do not break down because your thoughts are steady. You think long-term instead of reacting to short-term emotions. You look for solutions instead of drowning in stress. You stay calm even when the world around you loses control. This level of inner stability is rare, and anything rare becomes powerful. A silent mind is also more creative than a noisy one. Creativity needs space, and most people do not have that space because their thoughts fight each other constantly. But your quiet mind produces clear ideas, strong intuition, and deeper vision. Your thoughts become your tools instead of your enemies. And slowly, you become the type of man who leads with mental strength, not emotional instability. A silent mind also changes your presence. When your inner world is calm, your outer presence becomes powerful. People feel your composure. They sense your awareness. They recognize your discipline. They automatically treat you with respect because silence communicates power in ways words cannot. In a world full of noise, the quiet man stands out, not because he tries, but because his energy is rare. Silence inside creates power outside. This mix of clarity, awareness, discipline, and restraint creates a level of strength others cannot match. And when you think with more clarity than others, you naturally rise above them. The silent mind is the mind that wins. If you understand the strength of building a mind that cannot be shaken, comment, "My mind moves in silence." Number 9. The energy that speaks before you do. Some people carry a rare force the moment they enter a room, an energy that arrives before their words. It shapes how others see them even before they speak. This energy is not luck, not charm, and not a mistake. It comes from a man who has shaped himself with discipline, silence, self-respect, and controlled presence. When your inner world is mastered, your outer energy becomes powerful. People sense confidence before you show it. They sense authority before you talk. They sense strength before you speak. This is why some men can enter a room and immediately change the atmosphere. They raise the seriousness, increase awareness, and command attention without any effort. Their energy itself communicates focus, strength, and calm dominance. Your energy speaks through how you walk, your steady gaze, your slow breathing, your controlled steps, and your grounded posture. It also speaks through what you avoid doing. No rushing, no fidgeting, no begging for attention, no emotional reactions, and no forced presence. People read these signals without thinking, and these signals shape how they treat you. When your energy is solid, people become more careful, more respectful, and more aware around you. A silent man is not quiet because he is scared. He is quiet because he is focused, intentional, and firmly in control of himself. His silence makes people wait for his words, watch his movements, and pay attention to his reactions. And in that waiting, he gains influence without doing anything. A silent man is never weak. He is preparing, observing, and calculating. This level of restraint threatens those who depend on attention, approval, or emotional outbursts to feel strong. When you speak only when necessary, every sentence becomes heavier. Every look carries meaning. Every decision becomes harder for others to challenge. People trust the man who chooses his words carefully. They fear the man who does not beg to be understood. They respect